Let's start with a great big inhale, arms up and overhead. And exhale. Okay, great big inhale, arms up. And exhale. And one more time. Take arms up and overhead. Great big inhale all the way up. And release. Now figure out which one is your right leg. And you're going to cross that right leg behind. Keeping your knees soft, squeeze your thighs together, but keep your knees unlocked. Take that right arm up and overhead and into a side stretch. So with knees slightly bent, you're squeezing your thighs together and you are side stretching. Left hand on your hip to help make sure your hips don't shift to the right. Hips actually shift a little bit to the left as you stretch that right side body. And come on up. And let's do the other side. Cross that left leg behind. Keeping your knees unlocked, keeping your thighs squeezing together. Left arm comes up and over. You can even push your hips to the right a bit. I guess that would be your left. Push your hips to the left a bit. Big side stretch. And come on up. We're going to repeat, but this time take a big step. So cross that leg all the way over, even kind of twist a bit. There's a big stride between your feet. And then come up and over with your hips squared forward. So I twisted that way to get that big stride between my feet. And then I twisted the hips forward. Knees unlocked. Back heel probably be lifted for you. And release. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Left leg crosses over, far across. And I have to turn to the side of the room to get that leg to cross far back behind. And then I square my hips forward, thighs squeezing together, up and over. Big side stretch. And reset. Let's do once more on each side. Giant crossover, squaring hips forward, knees unlocked, side stretch. And reset. And third time's the charm. Big cross, square off, up and over. And reset. All right, couple of blocks, front edge of your mat. From the front edge of your mat, take a giant step back with your right foot. Go long, so straight back. Hips are still squared forward. Give yourself a bit of width between your feet. Front knee is bent. So you can press that back heel straight back down towards the ground. Stay there. I'm going to pop sideways just so you can see. Long stride between the feet, pressing that back heel straight down. I'm angling forward. Front knee is bent. And then stepping forward, and you get to switch sides. Giant step back left foot. So width and lots of length between your feet. Back heel pressing straight back. It might not touch down. You're using up pretty much the whole length of that yoga mat. Front knee bent. And step forward. Repeat. Giant step back, right foot. Go long. Pressing that heel straight back. To get that back leg straighter and stronger, stick your butt out. Press that right inner thigh backward up towards the ceiling. That back heel can swing out wide to the side. You might even pivot on the ball of the foot. And step forward. Switch. Pressing that back heel straight back. Buns to the sun. Inner thigh lifted skyward. Front knee is bent. Front knee turns out a bit. There's an arch in the front foot. Back heel swings wide. Front knee turns out, arch in the front foot. and then stepping forward. So a moment ago, when you took the leg across, you let your hips go out of square and then you turn them forward. Same sort of thing here, but you're taking a giant step back with that right foot straight back, letting the heel go wide, giving yourself some width, angling your torso forward, front knee bent. Blocks are there in case you need to touch down for balance. Front knee swings out to the side. You might even turn the front foot out a slight bit. There's an arch in that front foot. Now work on squaring your hips. So if there was a turntable on the ground, the whole situation would be rotating so that that back hip is swinging forward and the front hip is pulling backward. You might feel your upper inner thighs come together. And step forward, step back. Let's switch it up. Second side. Width, length, back leg straight, perky booty, back heel wide, front foot turns out to the side. Let me show you my foot a little bit more. Blocks are there in case you need them for balance. And then squaring those hips. And breathing. And step forward. All right, now you get to step wide and hinge over. Hands come to blocks. Toes in, heels out. Nice wide forward fold. Hands touch something. They touch the blocks, or maybe they come all the way down to the floor. And you continue this slow motion dive, forward fold. You can adjust the heights of your blocks and maybe put your elbows on blocks. Maybe your arms are long enough, your legs are short enough, that your elbows come all the way to the floor. You do want your hands or your elbows touching something the entire time. Toes in, heels out, knees unlocked. Buns to the sun. Now with your toes turned in, go ahead, pick up those pinky toes, flare your pinky toes, and then spread your heels. Since you're on a sticky mat, your feet don't go anywhere, but you're going to try ripping that mat between your heels. Spread your heels wide and feel those sit bones widen as well. Knees unlocked, hands transfer up onto your lap. So bend your knees, make a lap, come all the way on up to standing. Let's turn toes out. So heels in, toes out, and come down into that plie. Feet are wide enough apart so that your toes stick out past your knees. Hands are braced on your lap. So fingers can be in, fingers can be out, you can be on fists. Elbows stay bent as you turn to look over that right shoulder. Now, as you turn to look over that right shoulder, notice that left knee wants to follow. So swing the left knee wide, even pick up that left big toe, just for fun. Make sure there's an arch in that left foot. So left knee turns out, left big toe lifts up as you look over the right shoulder. And come to center. Let's do the other side. Look left, widen that right knee. Pick up the right big toe. Inhale to center. Look right, lift left toe, turn out left knee. And again to center. And one more time, looking over that left shoulder. Widen that right knee. Pick up the right big toe. And come to center. Hands can find blocks. As you heel toe wiggle your feet closer to each other. Come forward towards the front edge of your mat, still with hands on blocks. Find yourself in that wide-legged forward fold. Feet as wide apart as the mat. Knees unlocked. You're going to shift and sway your hips side to side. Hands on blocks. If you don't have blocks, hands can be on a coffee table, a chair. Get a sense of your pelvis rolling across the top of your thigh bones. So feeling those thigh bones plugging into your pelvis. Notice what might be going on with your outer hips, your lower back, maybe your back ribs, maybe underneath your shoulder blades. Depends on where you feel tight this morning, where you feel stiff. And come to center. All right, step feet narrow, front edge of your mat. Bring your hands up onto your lap. Watch out for chickens and small pets, whatever you have back there. Take a giant step back with that right foot. Woo! And the blocks are there for balance in case you need them. So we're going to come back into this lunge. Again, same thing, a little bit of width, lots of length. Front knee bent, back leg straight. Back heel swings wide. Squaring off those hips. Scissoring your legs close, feeling those inner thighs kiss, pulling the front leg back, the back leg forward, and then reach out. So if you step back with your right foot, you're going to reach out with your right arm. Reach, 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 reach. Get nice and long. Anchoring back hard through the right heel as you reach out with your right hand. Left hand can be on your lap or on block, whatever you need for balance. Also for balance, it does help to turn the front foot out a smidge. Turn that right knee out, front knee out forward. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And reset. Step forward, switch sides. Go long. Give yourself a bit of width. Maybe turn that front foot out. Make sure there's an arch in the front foot. Hands can come up onto your lap as you power that back leg straight. Swing the back heel wide. Square those hips. Inner thighs, Kegel muscles engaging. And then if this is your left leg, you're going to reach out with that left arm. Go long. Can you reach with your left hand and press back with your left heel at the same time? And reset. Let's do this once more on each side. I'm just going to turn sideways so you get the nice visual. Giant step back with that right foot. Give yourself some width, lots of length. Blocks are there for balance. Squaring off those hips so that back heel swings wide. Front knee turns out. If that's your right leg back, you're going to reach out with that right hand. Nice long diagonal slash through the air. And reset. Other side, step back, step forward, or spin around, however you're managing this morning. Nice long stride between the feet. Back heel can be lifted for the duration. Squaring off those hips, engaging those inner thigh muscles, reaching forward with the left hand and back with the right heel. Now that's your left heel. Left hand, left heel. Reach, reach, reach. Get long. And reset. Once again, step wide into that forward fold, wide-legged forward fold, and melt into it. Toes in, heels out, head down, booty up. With your toes turned in, pick up your little piggies, pick up those pinky toes and spread those heels. Knees stay unlocked. Hips stay back over your heels. If when you find balance, you want a little bit more chest opener, you can bring your hands together behind your back, interlacing your fingers. Press your knuckles up towards the ceiling. Let your head hang. Back of your neck is long. Shoulders are moving away from your ears. Ears moving away from shoulders. Breathe. All right, hands to your hips. Hands slide down your legs all the way to the floor. And you're going to lift up onto fingertips. Make a table out of your back. Pull in your front nose, pull in your belly, working on a flat back. Maybe even tuck your chin slightly so the back of your neck is flat as well. You are on fingertips. And your belly is pulled in nice and tight. Knees unlocked. Bring that right hand directly beneath your nose. And then sweep your left arm up and open. Revolve twist open. Keep both knees unlocked, heels pressing wide, pinky toes flare. And switch, twist the other way, up and open. And reset once again, sweeping that left arm up and open, and then turn your head to look up at that top hand and bring that top hand forward enough so you can actually see your hand with your bottom eye, and see the top thumb. And then high five an imaginary friend. So that hand moves forward like it's smacking a friend's hand, and you twist your chest open a little bit more. And reset. Let's do the other side. Sweeping that right arm up and open. Now notice what's going on with your toes. Spread those heels wide, pick up the pinky toes. Top hand moving forward, high-fiving that imaginary friend, twisting your chest. Trying to keep equal weight in both feet. And unwind. Let's turn this into a downward facing dog. Do make sure both feet are on the same mat as you step back into your downward facing dog. Take your feet as wide apart as the yoga mat. Bend your knees, lift your heels, and push your buns back. Buns to the sun. Booty up, head down. Fingers spread wide. Elbows are unlocked. And then walk all the way back to the front edge of your mat. Picking up those blocks along the way. Get them ready to go. Find yourself once again at the front edge of your mat and take a giant step back with that right foot. Coming back into the lunge. Hands can now transfer up to that front knee or hold onto the blocks for balance. Back heel lifts, back heel swings wide. Front foot might turn out to the side a little bit. Move my blocks, you can see there's an arch in the front foot. And just as before, you're going to reach out. And as you reach forward with that right hand, right heel presses straight back, pull that left hip back, squaring your hips a little bit more. And take this top arm diagonal across to the outside of the front knee. Try clipping your elbow to the outside of the knee. Knee pushes against elbow, elbow presses against knee. Back heel is lifted as you negotiate this. Elbow against knee, knee against elbow. And bring your hands together. Push top hand into bottom hand, bottom elbow against knee, knee pushes against elbow, and twist. And unwind. Stepping forward, stepping back, switch. Give yourself width. That will help with balance. Let that back heel be lifted. Back leg straight and strong. Front foot can turn out a smidge. And reach. Front knee is bent for the duration. If this is your left leg, you're going to reach out with that left hand. Big long stretch. And then squaring those hips. Squaring those hips to help you get that arm across to the outside of the knee. So the more you pull that right leg back, the easier it is to get that left arm across, elbow to the outside of the knee. And namaste the hands. Push top hand into bottom hand. Elbow against knee, knee against elbow. And twist. And unwind. Into, once again, another wide-legged forward fold. Now, depending on how you oriented your mats, you might find yourself one way or the other. Find yourself in that wide-legged forward fold. Now, I want you to see that I'm using up a good amount of this mat. Toes are in, heels are out. I also want you to see that I'm keeping my hips back over my heels. I'm not letting them travel forward. Hips are back. Knees stay unlocked. Toes in, heels out. Pinky toes flare. Walk both hands over to one side. I know right and left gets real confusing at this point. Walk both hands over to one side. It doesn't matter which. I'm going to actually try slipping my fingers underneath the pinky toe side of the foot, if you can. Otherwise, you're just holding onto the calf or leg or shin or whatever you got there. But if you can get a hold of that underneath the pinky toe side of the foot, that gives you a good place to hold on. Elbows are going to bend. You bow your head and breathe. Bringing your nose towards your shin. And then walk it all the way around to the other side. And once again, switching sides. Toes are in, heels are out. You might be grabbing hold of that pinky toe side of the foot. Both elbows are bent. And second side, second time. And reset. Come back to center. Keeping those hips back over your heels, crawl your hands forward. And then turn this into a downward facing dog. And once again, always do make sure both hands and both feet are on the same sticky mat. It will slide if you only have one set of paws on it, but both hands, both feet on the same sticky mat. And stretch back into your down dog. Knees bend, heels lift, hips press back. And take that dog for a walk all the way to the front edge of your mat. Finding those blocks once again, wherever they got off to. You're going to arrange those blocks, one on either end of your mat, and come all the way up to standing. Good morning. All right. You might orient yourself so you're looking at the screen. Feet go nice and wide. All 10 toes turn to the right. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. And then tip on over into that triangle pose. Bottom hand might find the block on the outside pinky toe side of the foot, or the hand might rest on the shin. Back heel kicks out. All 10 toes going to the right. Arches in both feet. Especially the right knee. That right knee is unlocked. You're lifting up the arch of the foot by twisting the right knee to the right. If all that made sense, top hand is in the air. And if you turn to look up at it, you can high five that imaginary friend. Spy with your bottom eye, that top thumb. Breathe. And inhale, come all the way on up. Let's switch sides, all 10 toes to the left. If you were to draw an imaginary line down the mat, you're lining up heel to heel if you're new, heel to arch if you're not so new. Big inhale, arms up and overhead. Nice wide stride between your feet as you tip over into that triangle pose. Again, hand could go on shin or to the pinky toe side of the foot on a block. The knee is unlocked and that knee turns out. You can pick up the big toe. You can lift up the arch of the foot. Keeping the knee unlocked. If all that made sense, you give me a high five and turn your chest open towards the sky a little bit more. Hopefully you have one block parked on either end of your mat. You're going to inhale, come all the way on up. And a pivot. Turn your toes, turn your feet, and tip over. This is Trikonasana triangle pose. Let's extend to this triangle pose, do Utthita Trikonasana variation. Let's take this top arm, pit, turn it towards your face like you're checking for deodorant and bring it right alongside your ear. Now, reaching through this left hand, press hard through that left heel. So reaching through that left hand, maybe sweep back with your left thumb. Continue to turn your chest open a little bit more. And then with an inhale, come all the way up. Pivot. Reposition those feet. Tip on over. Triangle. Armpit towards face, arm alongside the ear. Extended triangle variation. Kicking out through that right heel. Reaching through that right arm. Shoulders are away from your ears. Sweeping back with the thumb, reaching through the pinky finger. And come on up. You're going to pivot. Woo. Nice wide stride between your feet. Tip over into triangle for the third time. Do use the block. Let's take this top hand now, sweep it to that top hip, and you're going to pick up your left foot, pivot on the ball of the foot. You're swinging that heel wide. Maybe even take that foot and hop it a little bit wider so you can continue to square your hips and then reach diagonal. Pulling the front leg back, squaring those hips a little bit more, feeling those inner thighs engaged. And breathe. If you're really struggling to balance here, you can put a hand underneath on the block and a hand on a shin. We're doing it like an extended pyramid variation of pyramid pose. Trying to square off those hips. Pivot and come on up. And it might be a little wobbly, a little bit of a balance challenge as you switch sides. Just going to tip over into triangle, basic triangle. So in this basic triangle pose, your hips are broad and open. Tummy is flat. You're actually twisting your belly away from the knee. And then as we square the hips towards the short edge of the mat, you're going to pick up that back heel, pivot around, and scissor those legs closed. Back heel lifts up, back heel widens out to the side. You can even hop that back foot a little bit wider for balance. Glancing down at the front knee, and lift up that big toe, turn the front knee out. Work on pulling the front leg straighter. Again, you might have that extended arm on a block, a hand on the shin if you're really struggling to balance. Ideally, it would be wonderful if you had 4 blocks and you'd have 2 blocks on either end of the mat. Anyway, we work with what we got. You're going to come all the way up and pivot around and go directly to the other side. If you've got wonderful balance, you can have your left arm forward, your right arm back, going for even more twist as you reach, as you square those hips and balance. Again, the modification, if balance is an issue, is hand on shin, hand on block. And it does help with balance if you hop that back foot a little bit wider. Give yourself permission to keep that back heel lifted. Come all the way on up. Pivot around. Don't be shy about moving those feet. Hop in that back foot. And stretch. Square those hips. Pull the front leg back, the back leg forward. Feel those inner thighs kiss. Starting to engage that pelvic floor, core musculature for balance sake. Don't be shy about using your toys if you have them, if you need them. and come all the way up. I think you know where we're going with this one. We're going one more time to this first side, pivoting around, and then eventually coming into our revolved triangle. And in this revolved triangle, you're high-fiving that imaginary friend. Ultimately, you're turning your head to look up at that top thumb, and you're spying with your bottom eye, that top thumb, high-fiving that imaginary friend. And then to get out of this, does help to unlock your knees, windmill around, all the way around. And as you windmill around all the way around, you hop that back foot wide and revolve that triangle. The really advanced version involves breathing like it's no big thing. All right, one last time, come all the way on up to standing in the center, toes in, heels out, knees unlocked, hands come to the hips, hands slide down your legs, hands to the floor or on blocks, nice forward fold. Breathing, self-soothing, letting that heart rate slow down a bit. And then you could heel toe wiggle your feet narrower. Maybe park your heels on the edge of the mat and kappa squat. Shoulders away from your ears. Nice long neck, shoulders down, away from your ears. Elbows pressing wide, knees squeezing in narrow. Be able to wiggle your toes. If this is a no-go for your knees, you can take those blocks, arrange them in that butt cheek configuration, and sit upon them for your Baddha Konasana, your butterfly pose. So either you're doing your butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana, or you're hanging out in Malasana, your squat. And if you're borderline squat is semi-tolerable, you might take some of the load off by putting those blocks underneath your sit-bones. You do want to be able to walk after class. The shoulders down away from your ears. Nice long neck for everybody. Pushing those knees out with your elbows, squeezing your knees in against your elbows so your ankles are happy in the squat. Breathe. And then let's all come on down. If you haven't already given yourself that little pedestal to sit upon, go ahead, get those blocks underneath those sit bones. I do recommend being towards the back edge of your mat so you have room to play. I'm going to sit as ladylike as possible. Feet nice and wide, toes out to the side. Again, if you had a third and fourth block, you can have those available to help you balance. Otherwise, you might just have to make do with your really long arms. Without using your hands, you're going to drop both knees over that way. I guess that would be to the right. One butt cheek might lift up a little bit. Try dropping it. And then up and over and flip. If the knee can come down, great. If your knees are happy, wonderful. If you can do this and have happy knees, you can do it without blocks. Flip on over. But do make sure those knees can tolerate you flipping side to side here. Your knees aren't exactly happy. If you got stiffer hips, sitting on blocks will help. If you can get at least one, maybe both knees down, then you probably don't need to be on blocks. Then you're going to move it in a little bit more narrow. So now foot and knee are coming closer to each other. Foot and knee closer to each other. Do a couple of these. If you find that you're kind of scooching forward or traveling on your mat, whatever hip is floating, take that hip and anchor it backward, put it down on the floor before you switch sides. So the floating butt cheek, you're going to take that one and anchor it backward as you switch sides. That should keep you from traveling forward. A couple more times each side. And then, because I don't want to sit here and give you a crotch shot the whole time, I'm going to turn sideways, but you might want to just continue looking at the screen because your camera's not on. All right, you're going to come to neutral, shoulders back. Again, if you got stiffer hips, you got knees that aren't happy, you're doing this on blocks. You're still sitting on those blocks. Otherwise, hands on the floor. If you aren't sitting on the blocks, you can actually use those hands on blocks so you can sit up taller. Feet are about as wide apart as the mat. Well, no wider than your mat, hip width apart probably. Lean back for just a split second so that you can cross that right ankle over onto your lap. Foot is flexed flat. This is pointed. You don't want pointed. You want flexed flat. Shoulders back, chest lifted. Sitting up as tall as you can, making this a more compact pose. Feeling that in the hip. If this is your right leg crossed over, you're pushing that right knee away from your chest. Lifting your chest up. That leaves your left foot on the floor. I'm going to rock to the outside edge and then to the inside edge of that left foot. And you might find that you start to butt walk, travel forward. So again, that secret of the floating hip, pulling it back. You don't have to constantly creep forward. As you tick-tock side to side, pull that floating hip back. And you can even drag that foot back. Make this a more and more compact pose as you rock side to side. Getting ever more compact with this. And floating hip pulls back as you set it down. Eventually, don't forget, keep that foot flexed. Eventually, you start stacking up the shins. Your shins start to stack. As you start to stack your shins, twist your hips, twist your torso, twist everything in the direction of that top foot. If you were to point the top foot, twist everything in the direction that that top foot would be pointing and keeping it flexed up. You eventually want to spin or twist, actually just spin around, spin into it, getting ever more compact. Bottom foot is flexed, shoulders back, chest lifted. Get even more compact, take that top leg and move it all the way over, stacking up knees. So if you're familiar with Gomukhasana, chickens are making noise. Gomukhasana, we're heading towards Gomukhasana. Big hip stretch. And then lean back and release. Take it out. If you've completely come off those blocks, don't be shy about setting them up again and trying the other side. The other side might need blocks, so you might need to sit on those blocks. Otherwise, again, just so that I don't have the camera pointed up through my legs the whole class, you're going to sit here, shoulders back, chest lifted. Flex that left ankle, cross the left ankle onto your right thigh. Foot flexed flat. Shoulders back, chest lifted. And you begin to tick-tock side to side. Working it in more and more narrow, more compact, now that you know what you're doing. Now, most of us are right-handed, so with this left leg crossed on top, being right-handed means you're also right-hipped, means your right hip is usually tighter than your left. Now that we're emphasizing the stretch on the left hip, the second side usually goes a bit faster. Again, try to pay attention to those ankles, keeping your feet flexed. And then eventually you're going to work on stacking up your shins and maybe twisting into a fire log pose. Shin stacked, see my bottom toe peeking out. With that bottom toe sticking out past the bottom knee. Both feet flex flat. Sitting up as tall as you dare. Breathing. Pushing that left knee down and away. And then maybe continue to twist. If this top toe was pointed, twisting in the direction that that toe would be pointing. Keep the foot flexed as you twist. Twisting and crossing the leg. Nice and tight. So going for that cow's face pose, legs. Gomukhasana. Again, much more accessible if you are sitting on blocks. It'd be really good if I had like a round ottoman. I have those Zafu meditation pillows. They're like round circular bolster pillows. That would be nice. But we make do. And unwind. Hello, chickens. Unwind. Legs out. Give them a good shake. Yes. All right, shaking those legs out once again. Find yourself towards the back edge of your mat. And once again, sitting on those blocks. Sit bones nice and wide. So I am butt walking forward, pulling my flesh away from the bones, getting those sit bones right on the front edges of those blocks. Shoulders up, back, and down, fingertips on the floor, knees bent. And again, without using hands, both knees to one side, and then both knees to the other. You're going to take both feet over to the left side. Do situate yourself on the front edge of those sit bones, so pull the flesh up, stick your butt out behind you. And take this right shoulder, hitchhike, itch your ear. Right shoulder can come on to your back. Right hand reaches towards the floor or maybe finds the corner of the blocks. Left arm comes up and diagonal across, going for your twist. Tuck in your front ribs, pull in your belly. Twist a little bit more. And unwind. Flip your legs to the other side. Bonus points if you can do it without using your hands. Foot against knee. I'm going to point this back foot. Now we're doing pointed feet. Left shoulder shrug up, back, and down. Left hand can find the back corner of your block or fingertips reach the floor. Right arm comes up and diagonal across for your mermaid twist. Bharadvajasana. Front ribs are tucked in. Belly is engaged to twist a little bit more. And switch. Flip those legs. Again, good hip mobility if you can do it without using your hands. Toes are pointed, taking you to the next level. If both knees are down and your hip bones are higher than your knee bones, you might take this front foot up into your lap. Now, my pelvis doesn't do this very well, but there are those of you that can do like a half lotus, get this ankle all the way up into the hip joint and not fall off of the blocks and be equally weighted on both sit bones. Not me. I have to leave the foot down. But it is an option for some of you to get that foot all the way up into this hip crease and still be equally weighted on your sit bones. Right shoulder shrugs up, back and down. Kickstand behind you. Left arm comes up and diagonal across to twist. You do have that foot up in your lap. Ankle bone is up in the hip crease. Both knees are down. Hips are level. You're not falling over. You're able to manage this one. Breathing. Going for that nice big twist. And unwind. Switch. It is much more useful to be able to switch your legs without using your hands than it is to actually be able to put that foot up in the hip crease. There's not going to be much call in life for putting the foot in the hip crease, but being able to move your legs without using your hands, much more useful. All right, so if you can put that foot up in your lap, go for it. And that same idea, if you can get the foot up in your lap, you want to twist your torso in the direction of the pinky toe to make the, where the toe is pointed, make the whole thing even more compact. And I'm not a good model for that, but some of you can do it. Equal weight in the sit bones, hips level, knees down, blah, blah, blah. Right shoulder shrugs up, back and down. Left arm diagonal. This is your right arm diagonal across. Big twist. And on one. Let's do it one more time. Third time's the charm. Again, some of you can be doing this on the floor. I'm on blocks. Some of you can do this with that heel right up next to the sit bone. Some of you can do this with this foot pointed, hip toe up in the hip joint, and then twisting in the direction of the bad model, twisting in the direction of that foot to make this even more compact. Thighs get even narrower, close together. Foot all the way up in the hip crease. So your pelvis is kind of, or your leg is twisting across your pelvis, and then you're going to turn your torso in the opposite direction, taking that left arm diagonal across. So left hand can come to the outside of that right knee and twist. Again, if you can get that foot up in your hip, twist everything in more compact. That backhand can work around the small of your back and maybe grab a hold of your toe. So toe and fingertips come together as you twist. And you don't fall off your butt. And unwind. Switch. Get in there, make all your adjustments. The more height you have underneath the hips, the easier this is. But then again, you got to have a pelvis that does this. Well, still sitting on the front edge of your sit bones. Left shoulder back, right arm diagonal across. Hand to the knee, knee to the hand. Twisting your torso one way as you twist your thighs the other. And then some of you can take that backhand around the small of your back and grab a hold of your toe. And unwind. And kick those legs out. Hello, hips. All right. Let's even center things out with a nice deep forward fold. I'm going to sit on blocks because I want to get the most benefit out of this one. I'm going to set those blocks up again in what I call butt cheek configuration, one block for each butt cheek. I'm going to go sideways just so that you can see the profile view. You're fine orienting towards the screen, so you don't have to turn your head sideways to see what's happening. Sitting on the front edge of those blocks, waddle, butt walk forward. Pile that flesh up behind you. Expose those sit bones. Put your bony butt bones on the front edges of those blocks and have your legs straight out in front of you. Now, if you have knees that hyperextend, that collapse, that bow backwards, you can take your pillow and tuck a little something underneath those knees, keep them from hyperextending. Feet flex flat. Got your belt. Belt's going to go across the bottom of the feet, right where the arch meets the ball of the foot. Right where the arch meets the ball of the foot. Shoulders shrug up, back, and down. And you're going to pull your chest forward through your arms. Stick your butt out. Press your inner thighs down as you flex your feet. Maybe even do a little bit of an upper back bend. Sitting up nice and tall. Work the legs. Pressing your inner thighs down. Let your outer thighs and butt spread out. Inner thighs down. That pillow behind your knees, you can really press your inner thighs down hard, and hopefully you're not locking out your knees and hyperextending. So press those inner thighs down. Try shifting your weight to the very front edge of the sit bones. Think of the pelvic floor muscles, how they attach to the inside edges of those sit bones. And think about pressing the inside edges of your sit bones down and apart and wider, like you're giving birth to the pose. Sit up nice and tall. Inner thighs down. Inner sit bones down. But you don't want to give birth so that pelvic floor is actually lifted. Wide and lifted at the same time. Shoulders back, chest lifted. Just working the legs, sitting here. It's not about touching the toes. You're going to pull back, lifting your heart, dropping your shoulders. Try widening those sit bones, maybe widening your heels spiritually. Feet go nowhere. Belt is around your feet to help keep your feet from going anywhere. But think about widening your heels out. Just that act of trying to stretch your heels wider apart from each other. You can feel more inner thigh, more inner sit bone making connection down with the ground or blocks, whatever you happen to be sitting on. If you feel like those inner thighs are pressing down towards the ground and the inner sit bones are pressing down towards the ground, heels are pressing wide, it's all good. And you can release the belt and take your arms overhead and you maintain that connection. You got good technique. That's step one. But if when you release the belt and you took your arms overhead, something disconnected, you got to work on step one a little bit longer. I just disconnected, so I got to reset from the start. Feet flex flat. Knees unlocked. Inner thighs down, sit bones wide. Heels spreading. Knees unlocked. Finding that step one. Nothing changes when I take my arms up. And then continue to press those inner thighs. Continue to spread those heels, but your feet go nowhere. Keep those feet flex flat. Inner sit bones pressing down and begin to hinge forward. Inner thighs stuck to the floor the entire time. Remember pressing back through your heels as you reached forward. Right leg and right arm at the same time, and then left arm and left leg at the same time. You're going to press down through your heels and reach forward, both arms, both legs at the same time. Heels are pressing down to the ground as you reach forward with your fingertips. Hello, hips. Hello, lower back. Keep working those legs. Heels pressing down, heels spreading apart, but your feet go nowhere. Belt spiritually still around the bottom of your feet. Feet still flat. Inner thighs down, knees unlocked. Inner sit bones down. Reach. Heels down, reaching for your fingers. And then release. Oh, hello. You don't even have to touch your toes to get something to happen. All right. Now we get to lie down. So removing the stuff. That's what Dandasana is all about. It's not about touching your toes. Dandasana is just about being upright, maybe slightly tilted forward, but not really even going anywhere. All right, you're going to scooch forward and lie down. Pillow nail can go underneath your head if you're into that kind of thing. And your feet go as wide apart as the mat, 1 foot on either side of the mat. And let those knees tick-tock side to side. Just in case you were gripping your lower back to do that Dandasana variation. That make nice with that lower back. Tick-tock side to side. And then come to center. Toes in, heels out. Reach down and spread out your butt. And then inner thighs reach towards the floor. So 1 leg at a time, inner thigh down, the other inner thigh down. And as you put those inner thighs down, you're spreading your butt out because you want those inner sit bones to go wide. So if you get your inner sit bones down and wide apart and your butt spread out and your inner thighs down, your toes will be turned in. So get that to happen, and then you just get to release your feet. You might be pleasantly surprised about how much of your lower body is in contact with the ground. If your lower back, your lower body is happy with this, congratulations, you get to stay here. Otherwise, you can revert back to that half Shavasana variation. So choose your own adventure here. And take a good shoulder shrug. 1 shoulder, both shoulders underneath your body, palms turned up. Chest open. And turning your attention inward, find your breath.